Hey guys, and welcome to today's idiot video. Today, we are going to revisit one of our previous Flat Earth idiots, Lee McMurchie, or as he goes by now, Joseph Green, in his video titled Flat Earth Basic 101, My Opinion. Now in my opinion, his video should have been titled Flat Earth Basic 101, My Shitty Opinion, or My Uneducated Opinion, or even My Idiotic Opinion. But I think you get it. So let's begin.
Show me a spinning globe. Show me a spinning globe without NASA's pictures.
So there aren't a lot of videos coming from non-space agencies from space. But that doesn't mean videos of the spinning Earth don't exist. Here's the video from the Discover satellite, which orbits Earth in Lagrange point 1. This allows the satellite to observe the Earth spinning on its axis. Here's the most recent time-lapse from NASA's Discover website.
Think of if this world span at 1,000 miles per hour, right? Think of the weather it would create. It would create unbelievable, unlivable weather.
You're an idiot.
Maybe if the atmosphere was stationary relative to the spinning Earth. If this were the case, then the Earth would be spinning at 1,000 miles per hour underneath the atmosphere at the equator, and yeah, that would result in some fucked up weather. Fortunately for us, the atmosphere also rotates around the axis of the Earth at 15 degrees per hour, so on a large scale, it's relatively stationary with the surface of the Earth. This allows us to treat the rotating surface of the Earth and atmosphere as a single rotating reference frame.
Also, water cannot be taught to be magnetic, stick upside down.
Joseph Green, you're an idiot. Water can't be taught to be anything because water is not a sentient being to begin with and has no form of intelligence. Water does, however, have magnetic properties as it's diamagnetic, meaning that magnetic fields repel water. Which brings us to our next mega stupid comment of the day. The bottom of the Earth is not upside down, you idiot! At every position on the surface, down is towards the center of the Earth, or in the direction of the gravitational pull. I still can't understand how flat earthers don't understand this concept, and for that matter, I can't understand why flat earthers still think the Earth is flat.
You know why? It's because this Earth proves itself to us.
That's exactly my point. Other than the local section of land on this massive sphere that we live on, all other evidence points exclusively at the shape of the Earth being a sphere. Any other shape just wouldn't work with daily observations. So if you're a flat earther, then you're a fucking idiot.
They're going about, I've got one guy that's really pissing me off about gravity. And it's density versus mass, or buoyancy.
Wait, did you just say that gravity is only density versus mass? Or buoyancy? Yeah, you're a fucking idiot. Because I'm not sure that you understand that density is directly proportional to the amount of mass in an object, and that really doesn't explain gravity. Or that the buoyancy equation has an acceleration variable. You know, acceleration, like gravity. But please enlighten us to why things actually accelerate to the ground.
That's all it is. If it's heavier in the air it's in, it comes down, obviously.
Well, it's confirmed. You're an idiot.
The water, when it's called sea level, it's called sea level. It's because it's sea and it's level.
Wrong. It's called sea level because it is the mean elevation of the world's seas or oceans, and it is the same distance or at the same level from the center of the Earth.
I mean, we've been going on, humans have been going on for hundreds of centuries, and yet there's never been one case where a meteor has hit the moon.
Joseph Green, you're an idiot. Because that's completely incorrect. While it is rare to catch a meteoroid or asteroid hitting the near side of the moon, it has been caught before. Here is a video from 2013 showing a meteoroid hitting the moon, and here's another one from 2019 also showing a meteoroid hitting the moon.
And yet, we keep on getting threatened that the meteor's going to hit the Earth.
According to Robert Frost of NASA, while the moon takes on about 6,000 pounds a day or 3 tons of meteoroid material, the Earth is bombarded with about 100 tons of meteoroid material daily. Now you might say, 100 tons a day seems like a lot. Wouldn't we notice this? You see, there's a difference between the Earth and the Moon in regards to the meteoroid impacts. The Earth is enveloped in a thick atmosphere that the Moon simply does not have. This atmosphere generates friction with the fast-moving meteoroids as they approach the Earth's surface. This intense heat causes most meteoroids to explode or incinerate in our atmosphere, at which point we classify that meteoroid as a meteor. However, if the meteoroids are large enough and made from the right material, a few of them will survive their journey through the atmosphere and impact the Earth. These meteoroids are then classified as meteorites.
But there's never been one instance where a meteor has ever hit anything. And if it does, it should lodge itself in, but it's never there.
Typically, when a meteorite hits the Earth, it impacts the surface at about 200 to 400 miles per hour due to its shape and terminal velocity. If you took a rock and fired it at 300 miles per hour at the ground, what are the chances that that rock will still be intact? Also, what are the chances that we're going to see some kind of evidence of the impact even if the rock doesn't survive? This is typically what happens when a meteorite hits the surface. Not only does it break up into smaller pieces, but it also leaves an impact crater, as shown here at the Meteor Crater National Landmark in Arizona.
The moon is a moonlight.
No, the moon is not a moonlight, you idiot. Moonlight is reflected sunlight from the surface of the moon. If the moon was its own light source, then it wouldn't have any shadows on its craters, and we would never see phases of the moon.
It tells you in the Bible in Genesis, heavens above. It can't be heavens below. It's heavens above. I'm just trying to explain things.
Well, you're a fucking idiot, and you're doing a really shitty job. But we have only just begun, so let's continue.
You've got to understand that a spinning globe and getting these lovely tides that just lap up on a beach and, and you get that lovely, relaxed air. I'm sorry, but I just don't read that. I just don't read it. I just don't get it.
No one is going to actually hold that against you. Dynamic tidal theory is a very complicated subject to understand. Most people believe it's just the gravitational pull of the moon pulling the surface of the water up as it passes by, but that doesn't explain the high tide on the opposite side of the Earth. The truth of the matter is that there is quite a bit of science that goes into explaining the tides in detail, but we aren't going to cover that today.
And for NASA to take 53 million off the public every day. I mean, I got the guy that said it's pointless going back to the moon now. Cornwall, 1888. Well, why still take 53 million a day then and say they're going to go to Mars and yet they can't get to the moon?
So this argument is starting to get old. First off, NASA has a manned moon mission planned for 2024. And while the logistics of putting a man on Mars are actively being discussed, a realistic time frame for any manned mission to Mars is several decades away. On the other hand, how exactly do people like this idiot think that the innovations and research are going to come to fruition without help from the taxpayers? And $53 million a day is chump change to a global cabal whose sole purpose is to lie and steal money from the people. I mean, we have more than 300 million American citizens today. If only 1/3 of them were taxpayers from which NASA funded its entire budget, that would only be about 50 cents a day per person. Hardly something to bitch about.
It was stated, your high flyer from NASA says, we don't have the technology to go back to the moon. And yet in 50 years forward, 50 years ahead, you look at the cars from 1950 to the cars, the cars at 2020 now. Everything has progressed, and you're telling me that they can't go back to the moon, but they could send a signal up to a moon buggy and get it started. It's fucking hilarious.
What's fucking hilarious is that you believed whatever whack job idiot that told you that they start the lunar rovers or moon buggies up with a radio signal from Earth. The lunar rovers, or LRVs, had 2 silver zinc non-rechargeable batteries that gave them a range of a little less than 100 kilometers.
Have a look at your flight pass. Now it states it's 22 hours from UK to Australia. And yet it's only 15 from California to Australia. And yet we're 9 hours. 7 hours to New York, and then you'd be another 9 hours from New York to California.
I'm still not 100% sure what his argument is here. He says it's 22 hours to fly from England to Australia, but it's 15 hours from Australia to California, and 7 hours from England to New York, and 9 hours across the US. It's almost as if it's shorter in one direction than it is in the other direction. And I'm not sure what airline you use, but non-stop from New York to LA is a 6-hour flight, not 9. Am I missing something here?
Go look at the flat Earth map of the United Nations. And also, if you look at the United Nations flat Earth map, right, they put it in your face, and yet people just don't open their eyes to see it. It's a sonar. It's a big fucking sonar with a grid map as a flat Earth.
No, the Flat Earth map is not a range-finding system that uses acoustic waves, you fucking idiot. I think what you mean to say is that the Flat Earth map looks like the UN map, which is very similar to a PPI display, which is sometimes used in a sonar system, because not all sonar systems use a PPI display, and not all PPI displays are used exclusively in sonar systems.
And if you look at that, you can see why it's only 15 hours from California to Australia, and it's 22 hours from us. I mean, if you do a flight from Southern America, why does it just not go across to South Africa if it was going to something like Australia, and then from South Africa right across? Every flight seems to come up into Central and then back down again.
You're an idiot. Direct flights from Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia fly south of New Zealand, not north, taking them closer to Antarctica, not further away. Here's an image from FlightAware, an online flight path tracking website from the day I recorded this video, showing an active flight en route from Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia. Comparing this picture to the Great Circle that connects the 2 points, it's quite clear to see why an airline would choose this path to take, as it's the shortest path between 2 points on a sphere.
Space is a joke. Planets are a joke.
And flat earthers are fucking idiots.
In the Bible, right? I'm not a religious person. In the Bible, it says that heaven's above. And all the religious people like the Aztec, the Mayans, the Egyptians, it's all in their prophecies that the firmament above, with the moon and stars and sun all encased.
Wow! You're an idiot!
Of course they all agree that it looks like the sun and the stars are all locked in the moving heavens. And of course it doesn't feel like we are moving or spinning or flying through the universe either. But that's expected when you're sitting on top of a ball that's spinning 15 degrees an hour with a circumference of almost 25,000 miles and in the vast expanse of nothingness known as space. So what's your fucking point?
I mean, if you go and type in Project Fishbowl and the United Nations Treaty, what does that tell you? The United Nations Treaty basically means no cunt is allowed to go to the Antarctic or the North Pole on their own free will.
Again, just bad information from a misinformed idiot. The Arctic Circle doesn't have a UN-sanctioned treaty to govern the area. That area is governed by several of the nations that are located in and around the Arctic Circle, and a few of the more prominent governments of the UK. The UN Treaty, also known as the UN Charter, doesn't even talk about Antarctica or the Arctic, as it is designed to protect the human rights of individuals around the world. What you are talking about is the Antarctic Treaty, which simply states that Antarctica will remain free from any country's sole possession and ensures that scientific and logistical assistance between politically competing countries is always maintained. Your own country may have rules and regulations for exploring Antarctica on your own, however, that is aside from the Antarctic Treaty.
And the Project Fishbowl was the time where they found the edge of the firmament and they tried to blow it up.
Wrong again. Project Fishbowl was designed to test the effects nuclear bombs would have on the upper atmosphere. Specifically, the electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, associated with high-altitude detonations, and the drop in radio communications, which was crucial to understand, especially during times of war. The most significant and highest elevation of detonation was Starfish Prime, which detonated at about 250 miles in elevation. If the purpose was to blow up the firmament, then that would mean that the firmament is also at about 250 miles in elevation, well within modern radar capabilities. If this were the case, then with today's technology, we should be able to receive a reflected signal off of the firmament and determine precisely its physical elevation. However, this is not the case, because the Earth is not flat, there is no firmament, and flat earthers are fucking idiots.
It's all stated online, it's all stated on YouTube, it's all stated on paperwork, but yet everybody thinks it's a fucking spinning globe. It does not move, nothing moves. It's fixed.
I'm sorry, but outside of geocentric and flat earth websites, nowhere else does it say that people think we're living on a fixed, immovable plane. Everywhere else, it says that we're living on a spinning planet that's orbiting the sun and flying through space. But flat earth idiots and geocentaurs seem to be the only ones who have figured out the truth though, and everyone else is wrong. Yeah, you guys can get fucked.
If I put water in a fucking jar in a clear cup and turn it sideways, it stays flat. You cannot stick it to stay level at the same as the fucking cup.
Oh my god, you're an idiot. Water is a liquid, and liquids conform to the shape of their container. However, the action of the water on the inside of the jar as you turn it gives you the other part of that picture. Water is always being pulled down towards the surface of the earth. Otherwise, when you turn that glass of water, it wouldn't have any reason to align itself with the pull of gravity. It's a great proof for the existence of gravity and an absolute killer for every other flat earth argument out there.
And then there's other ones that go on about gravity. It takes every molecule of water and forces it down. Individually, it picks every molecule of water. Really? And yet it allows so much water to be, to go up in the atmosphere to create rain.
Oh boy, I'm actually kind of excited. I thought I was going to go the whole video without having to give some actual science, but it looks like I was proven wrong. So why do rain clouds float, when water is obviously more dense than air? Well, the first misconception that many people have is that clouds are made of water vapor, which is less dense than dry air. While water vapor is less dense than dry air, clouds are actually made up of individual water molecules, not water vapor. When the water molecules are small, they contain less mass, and as they coalesce into larger raindrops, they gain mass and volume. Now, the water droplets appear to float due to the drag force of the atmosphere. So when they are small, they fall slowly, like very slowly. We're talking about meters per year slow. However, as the raindrop increases in size, the force of gravity pulling down on the raindrop will be roughly proportional to the radius of the raindrop cubed, while the drag force will only be roughly proportional to the radius of the raindrop squared. So as the raindrop grows, the force of gravity becomes much greater than the drag force holding it up, and the raindrop will begin to noticeably fall faster.
We're just a big fishbowl, that's all we are. That's how we never run dry of water. It recycles, goes up and comes back down again.
So let's stick with science. The water cycle consists of the heating up of the ocean surface and evaporating the ocean water into water vapor. The water vapor cools as it rises and condenses into water droplets to form clouds. Inside of the clouds, the smaller raindrops coalesce into larger drops until they're large enough to fall to the ground as rain due to gravity. And finally, the water will eventually make its way back out to sea, where it will start the process all over again. This is a natural and very easily explainable process and does not require us to live in a fishbowl, you idiot.
Listen, I'm just putting my point out there. I'm not saying right and wrong, but it makes more right to me that it's flat and motionless.
Well, thank goodness that science doesn't stop searching for a deeper truth than what we think makes sense to an uneducated flat earth idiot.
Think of the weather. Just ask yourself that. If it span at 1,000 miles an hour, what would the weather be like? It would be unlivable.
Citation fucking needed. Because the Earth already spins at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, and the weather is perfectly fine. Well, okay, So there are a few hurricanes that are a bit fucked up, but hurricanes actually help prove that we are indeed living on a spinning sphere. I'll give just one example. The direction of rotation of hurricanes is a direct consequence of the Coriolis force, which is a fictitious force only present in a rotating reference frame. The fact that hurricanes spin in opposite directions on either side of the equator means that the Earth and its atmosphere is spinning on an axis which is perpendicular to the equatorial plane. If the Earth were a non-rotating disk, then we would need an explanation for the Coriolis forces that we observe in nature. And if the Earth is a spinning disk, then we would have Coriolis forces present. However, they would always be in the same direction, regardless of which side of the equator the hurricane is on. Sorry guys, the Earth is spinning, it's not flat, and flat earthers are fucking idiots.
And if flat earthers were that bad and that stupid, why is it the biggest movement ever in the last 10 years ever?
Probably because it's filled with morons and idiots like you who say that flat earth is the greatest movement ever in the last 10 years ever. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. And let's not forget that today's flat earth movement pales in comparison to the number of flat earthers in 1000 BCE. The only difference is they have an excuse for believing the earth was flat, while your only excuse is that you're an idiot. So I think this is going to be where we end the video today. Joseph Green or Lee McMurchie or whatever he's going to call himself tomorrow isn't exactly the brightest light bulb in a pile of defective bulbs, so I don't think there's much more we're going to learn from him today. I'd like to take the time out to thank Joseph Green for taking the time out of his day to make a self-deprecating video showcasing his lack of intelligence. Because Jeffrey Green, you're a fucking idiot. Alright guys, so you made it to the end of the video and I appreciate that. If you found this video even mildly entertaining, then hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. A massive neutron star size shout out to all of my channel members and patrons, especially Bella Charge, the newest channel member to join our Oh My God Donger tier for channel members. It's with your help and support that I'm able to keep doing what I love to do, calling out idiots on the internet. I'm Team Skeptic, and I'm out.